Everyone, it's Bonnie. Happy Thursday. I have a little bit of a different video for you today. I kind of got to thinking now that it's 2024. I always do that at the beginning of the year. I kind of reflect on the past and think about my life going forward. So I couldn't sleep last night. So I started thinking about what I wanted to talk about in this video, and it really has to do with my life as a YouTuber and how the arts have so heavily affected my life in a positive way. And it got me thinking about kind of my younger years in elementary school, my college years, and then now I I always get a little bit reflective during January. It's my birthday month. I'm turning 54 later this month. And I'm now working on this project with my friend and collaborator, Lenny. Many of you have probably seen the book sitting back here on my shelf and are going, what the heck is the story with the book? So I wanted to talk about my life in the arts and how it led to this collaboration that I have been blessed with in 2023. So we're going to go back in the Wayback Machine a little bit, because as I was thinking about this last night, there's so many common threads to this story. So I had a fairly average Midwestern Ohio upbringing. We did move around a couple of times. Grew up in Northeast Ohio, was obsessed with sitcoms in my early days, pop culture, music. I was always very into the entertainment world. And until I was in about fifth grade, I had a fairly uneventful existence. I played outside a lot. My mother was a wonderful influence on me. She was always doing crafts with me, sharing music, instruments. And then when I was in fifth grade, we moved to a different school district. And for the first time in my life, I actually experienced a little bit of bullying, which is a surprise to me because I had never really been bullied before. And I moved to this new school district. I had just kind of shot up in height. I was now 5'11". I was like taller than my teachers, super skinny. I had giant blonde hair. My hair stuck out. It was, long blonde. I wore glasses, a little bit on the geeky side, which kind of explains Queen of the Girl Geeks now. And I walked into this new school, and I remember these, I'm going to call them mean girls, just kind of looked at me and kind of sized me up and went, we don't want to be friends with you. Okay. I was okay with that because I really didn't want to be friends with them. And it was a little bit of a shock, but it didn't bother me all that much because I had a wild imagination. I was perfectly fine as an only child. I was in my own world. I wrote a lot. I drew a lot. So the mean girls weren't really that effective towards me. And later in life, of course, hearing all of these horrible stories about bullying and stuff, it really made me realize how lucky I was to not be affected. I remember I have a funny story. I used to always ride the bus home, and the bus driver, for some reason, always had Edge of 17 on like repeat over and over again, really loud. And I remember these mean girls in their Jordache jeans walked up to me and they said, this Saturday, we're going to come over to your house and we're going to beat you up. So, my response was, I said, well, I don't think I'm going to be home on Saturday. Like maybe another day, but I'll have to pencil you in. Saturday's not a good day for me. And I think I shocked them so much because they expected like a different response, like I'd start crying or something. Like, no, I'm not going to be home. They kind of laid off bugging me at that point. But it was kind of an interesting school year because I really didn't make a lot of friends. I was lucky enough after sixth grade that I went to another kind of artsy school where I definitely found myself again. But I had a couple of rough years in those elementary years where I did experience what it was like to be bullied. So I've always had a very awareness and soft spot for people that are not treated well, because it is not fair to treat someone differently because of how they look or their gender or their color or anything, because they like to play the flute or because they want to play football even. I mean, there's people in the sports world who are bullied too. So I've always had a sensitivity to that. My nickname, I think in fifth grade, was Medusa because my hair was so big, which I kind of took as a compliment. I was like, "Hey, Medusa's a pretty wonderful character." So it never affected me in my self-esteem, which I was always so fortunate for. So through high school, I developed a love of theater, a love of the arts, and then my parents had gotten divorced, and I couldn't afford to go to college when I was 18. So I kind of worked some odd jobs. I went to community college, and then when I was 26 years old, I ended up entering a four-year college, which is where I met Lenny, who is the author of this book. He has appeared numerous times on my channel, and he was a very pivotal person in my life at the time because he treated me like an equal creatively. We were running a theater together. He asked me to be the managing director of his theater company, Ecclesia Theater. He was the artistic director. And our synergistic energy was spot on. Never in my life have I ever worked with another human being that I so creatively connected with as Lenny. And we created some amazing work, including a production of Oedipus Rex, who coincidentally had this older androgynous actor named Ted Burr. He was in the production, and that is the young man who was on the cover of this book. So I knew Ted Burr personally. He was an amazing human being. He was so energetic. He was full of life. He had a laugh so infectious. And being in a smaller suburban area, Lenny really opened my world to a larger arts community. And I will forever be appreciative of that time in my life. So then graduated from college. I have a degree in English. I went on to do many jobs in marketing. I worked in education. I worked at a hospital for a while. I got married, and then Lenny and I always kept in touch. He had moved to California, and then I started a YouTube channel in 2017. I actually deleted it because I wasn't sure I wanted to do it. 3 days later, I was like, I love my channel. I got it back. I am almost at 50,000 followers. I cannot believe it. It is such a joy to come on every single day and be Queen of the Girl Geeks. And what's interesting is that's kind of a funny moniker. A lot of people are Queen of the Girl Geeks. What is that? I can't even remember when I coined that phrase. I think it was in like 2013. And I have always been a girl geek. I'm kind of right brain, left brain. I love computers, but I love the arts. And I've kind of had that wonderful ability to do both. I can do all technical, and I have an appreciation for the arts. I'm not a wonderful painter, dancer, actor, any of those, but I have a very huge appreciation for people who are. So I'm rooted in the arts, but I'm also able to do all of the technical things that go into the arts to make them flourish. So that is where I kind of came up with the whole Queen of the Girl Geeks, and it just felt like a fun name, so it kind of stuck. I do not think I am the queen of anything. I think we all have a little bit of a queen in us, which I love. So that's kind of where that blossomed from. So I was starting in like 2017. I bought the domain Queen of the Girl Geeks. I got my blog going. I started doing YouTube videos. I enjoy changing up my background, bringing my own unique style to the channel. It's funny, a lot of people, I've had a little criticism over the years, kind of that mean girl thing going on, where people have gone, "You are the worst YouTuber I have ever seen." You don't review candles right, you don't do this. And you know what? Not everyone's gonna like me. But that's okay. It is. It's okay. I have my own unique style. I love what I do. And I feel like I bring so much value to the candle community. And I'm going to keep doing it because it's something that I love doing. So as I've been kind of going along through my channel, I'm always looking for new opportunities in the arts and in artistic endeavors. And it just so happened that Lenny, who, like I said, had moved to California, called me up in November of 2022. And it was funny because we got on the phone and it was like the years just completely melted away. It's like, "Oh, hey, Lenny." It's like it's somebody you talk to that you haven't talked to in a couple years, and you're just like, you talked to them yesterday. That's how it is with Lenny and I. And he's like, "I finally got the letters published in a book." And I was like almost ready to cry. I was so happy for him because he had produced a film with the elder Ted Burr called Letters to Uranus, The Hidden Life of Ted Burr, where Ted reveals the correspondence that he had with this famous author, Henry Bellamy. And Lenny has this on film. It's a wonderful film. It's on the channel Ecclesia Arts, which I keep talking about. So if you go over there, you can see the film. And then, like I said, last year, Lenny published the book. And this is a very riveting book. If you are looking for a book that is going to grab your attention, get you thinking, and have you wanting to talk to other people about the contents of this book, you're in luck because you found the book that you're going to get next. So I remember I ordered the book off of Amazon. I'm like, "Lenny, I'm going to order it right away." I was up all night reading this book and I was riveted. It is a period book. Obviously, it takes place in 1943 during World War II. Ted Burr is a 19-year-old gender-confused young man in 1943. Think about that. That's not a time when people even knew what transgender was. People didn't know what gay was. So just imagine what it felt like to be a young man who wanted to be a woman. Ted wanted to be a mother, and the confusion he felt. So he really resonated with one of Henry Bellamy's characters in King's Row named Jamie Wakefield. So he wrote to Henry in desperation, and serendipitously, Henry wrote back, which is incredible in itself, that this 60-year-old author wrote back to this 19-year-old in Bellevue, Ohio. Incredible coincidence, story, the irony of all this. Henry himself was struggling. He had health problems. He had struggles with writing the sequel to King's Row, which, by the way, the first movie had starred Ronald Reagan. It was very popular back in the 1940s. He was struggling with his own sexuality. He had a wife who was driving the next the sequel to King's Row. I mean, there's a lot going on in Henry's life. So you had these two people that were kind of in the midst of their own storms, and then they come together with these letters. And let me tell you, these letters are incredible. There's a psychological element, there's a historical element. They're wonderful. So Lenny published this book in 2022, and then in 2023, April, Lenny had been in the South doing more research on the Bellamons because there were research papers done on them. He has a wealth of information. Lenny is a wonderful educator, researcher, dramaturg. He knows all of this stuff. So he gathered all of this information, which again fed into this entire project, just gathering more and more and more. So by the time he came back to Pennsylvania, he came to Ohio then in April, which is when we reconnected. And as many of you know, Lenny's been on my channel. And it's funny because I don't often have guest stars on my channel. My mom's been on, my friend Kristen's been on, but I typically do stuff alone. And the minute Lenny came on my channel, I was like, oh, yes! He was such a joy to banter with. We reviewed candles. And I gotta say, what I love again about Lenny is that we're such equals creatively. He brings so much to my work, and then I bring a lot to his work. So that synergistic equal footing is what allows us to be such great creative partners. He is literally one of the only people in my career that I've been this connected to creatively, and the work we produce, I think, is absolutely amazing. So Lenny actually had me do a couple of just graphic design work pieces for his book tour, his presentation. If you head over to the channel Ecclesia Arts, you're going to see that he's got a lot of material over there. He's got like 96 videos all pertaining to this project, but the big video is the pilot for the TV series that he wrote based on the letters. So one thing that I've always admired about Lenny is his depth of creative well. Like his well is full creatively, and a lot of people have a hard time getting to the bottom of that well when they're creatives. It's easy to stay on the surface, but what I love so much about Lenny is that he's able to go way below the surface creatively and do the hard work to bring out the emotion, the pain, the rawness, the joy, and the depth of his characters. And that is what he has done in this TV series that resonates with me so much. Going back to when I was a child, it just brought back a lot of memories for me in terms of how the arts helped me get through my younger years, my teenage years, my college years, and how the arts, this is the thematic part, the arts actually are what saved Ted too. He was very into classical music, singing, he wrote stories. They were a savior, the arts were a savior to Ted as well as me, so I connected to that part of it. I also connected with Ted. Having known the elder Ted Burr, of course, moved me. But even if I hadn't known the elder Ted Burr, knowing about this young man in 1943 who was suffering because he was not, quote unquote, the norm, absolutely moved me, because I think we all know what that feels like in some way, shape, or form. So what I loved about the book was that it was such a reflection of my life, society, and how we tend to reject people that are different. So I definitely think that this book has got so much value as a way to learn how to be kind to other people by understanding what they're going through. So last summer, I had the privilege of reading the TV series that Lenny wrote. It's 6 episodes. The pilot was the most fleshed out at that time. But it's funny, I remember reading all 6 episodes and Lenny's like, well, they're not totally polished yet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just wonderful. I mean, he had me laughing, he had me crying. I resonated so much with the characters that the next step in all of this was, I'm like, Lenny, and he knew this too, we got to get the pilot on YouTube. And in September, the goal was to have Lenny just read the pilot script. However, what happened was probably one of the most magical creative moments in time that I've ever had the privilege to experience. So looking back, I'm not even sure how we managed to do this, but during the month of September, Lenny literally produced a 90-minute pilot in his childhood home in a 4-foot by 6-foot area in the living room on a Mac computer that I had given him from like 5 years ago. This wasn't even a new Mac. This was an older Mac. He had it balanced on books. He had it all over the place. He literally set the stage for each and every scene, and we would work together. So he would send me stills. How does this look? What does this look like? I would get all of the daily footage. I mean, we were immersed in this production, and we didn't even know at times like how we got there. It was almost like it just came to us. And I would wake up in the morning and Lenny'd be up at 3 a.m. and he'd like, oh, I filmed this. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And the rawness and the beauty of what this man has produced by himself in this small corner of this living room is absolutely breathtaking. And I don't say that lightly. He played 25 different characters, men and women. And where Lenny's talent truly lies is his ability to be gender fluid in his roles. So when he was playing Ted's mother, Helen Burr, he's wearing a low-cut shirt. His chest hair is showing. He's obviously an over 60-year-old man. He's got the gray hair. But when you are watching this moment, you are seeing, you are hearing, you are feeling Helen Burr. This is not Lenny Pinna. He has absolutely captured Helen Burr in her character. And even myself, I had like such in awe moments sometimes when he would send me this footage, because I was like, Lenny, like this has truly just elevated this entire 90-minute pilot. Because like I said, he was just going to read it, on camera. And I was like, you have brought these characters to life in such an amazing way. Like, you could feel Helen's pain when she was talking about how she had wanted a girl and that she blamed herself. I mean, these were really emotional moments. I mean, this 90-minute pilot will have you laughing, it will have you crying. There are very raw moments in it that I think everyone can relate to. So, what's interesting about this project that has so taken me is the three pieces: the film from 23 years ago with the elder Ted Burr is one separate piece. And you will get a lot from this film because you will get to experience the joy that is Ted. And I highly recommend watching that. The book itself stands by itself because these letters are so riveting. Like I said, you're going to want to gather your friends together, read this book, and then have a discussion about it, because there's so much going on in this book that's reflective of society. And then the TV series, which Lenny wrote himself based on these characters, is absolutely stunning. So I knew by the end of July, when I had finished reading all 6 of the episodes, that I had literally like walked through the looking glass into like another world that I couldn't even believe I was in. The fact that I've been able to work with such a talented human being as Lenny, and not only that, but to work with him as an equal, has been just a thrill for me. And it so reminds me of my channel, because that's how I feel with all of you, that like I'm half the channel and that all of you are my other half. Because as we all know, art does not flourish in a vacuum. Art, music, dance, theater, writing, television needs to have a community in order to flourish. All of you are my community, and that is why I am able to flourish as an artist on YouTube. Lenny's television series has got so much depth and is going to bring so much discussion, energy, emotion, and social change to the world. That is why I am so excited about working on this project. And I'm hoping that as the project grows and we get the word out to more people, we can bring this to a larger audience. But even more important than saying, oh, we want a Netflix series, what Lenny and I want most is for people to love and just get something from the material. That is our greatest joy in this project. So I know many of you have headed over there. So many people have left comments. We appreciate that so much. And I understand this project may not be for everyone. A lot of people don't love period pieces. They don't love drama pieces, and that's okay. We're all different. However, if you are looking for an incredibly vibrant piece of work, head over to Ecclesia Arts, check out the material. I would honestly start with the 9-minute producer reel. That'll give you kind of an overview of the start to finish through line, the characters. Once you're done with that producer reel that's 9 minutes, I recommend watching the 90-minute pilot as a whole if you can. I mean, you could split it up into 2 pieces, but watching it as a whole, you really get that thematic ribbon of emotion and depth as you experience it as one piece. If you'd like more, then I recommend reading A Face from Uranus, which is the letters between Ted and Henry. There's so much amazing additional information in here. There's some photos in here. And additionally, Lenny has written an introduction. So you're really going to get that high level experience if you do the TV series, the book. And then if you're interested in seeing the elder Ted Burr, of course, then check out the movie from 23 years ago, Letters to Uranus, The Hidden Life of Ted Burr. So, oh my goodness, that was a long one. Thank you so much for, as always, supporting my channel, supporting me. And I'm so happy to be able to talk about this project on my channel because it really does mean a lot to me. I feel like the depth of the whole of this project is someday going to be talked about in great detail, and I can't wait for that day. Thank you as always, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.